You getting it twisted, getting all jelly, cause you think I'm with them, but you know you're not ready. My truth got me up at 6 a.m. Tapping in the Zoom, cause my God is the REM. Straight up, he died for me. When I pull up, I know he got me. Don't play faves, we all his queens. When they say woman, they mean God.
Hey, good people. Welcome to Determined Women of Destiny, the place where passion meets purpose, where amazing women doing amazing things come to show off everything that they do. You will be influenced and inspired, encouraged and empowered, along with a whole lot of motivation so that you can believe dreams really do come true. I'm your host, Yvonne, the Motivator Man. Welcome to the show. You're watching, you're listening, you're here with me at Determined Women of Destiny. I'm your host, Yvonne, the Motivator Man. And last week we had a chance to speak to a young woman about red letters. And this week is part two. So my guest is Niko Flowers. And as a sophomore in college, she came home to an envelope with red letters on it. And that's why the show was entitled Red Letters. And she opens it up and they say she has to come to the health center. So she goes to the health center and lo and behold, guess what? She's told she's HIV positive. But then also, the man in her life, her boyfriend, is there and they both find out that they're HIV positive. And then her journey takes her from South Carolina to New York, where she has now started treatment and started her life over again. Niko, welcome to the show again. And please tell us about your experience once you get to New York and trying to find medical assistance that suits your lifestyle, not just everybody's, but your lifestyle that's going to keep you healthy.
Well, when I landed in New York, the first thing was getting insurance because without insurance, I couldn't really get treatment. So getting insurance, after getting insurance, finding a provider. At that particular time, I was at the famous St. Vincent's Hospital in New York City, which was like from what I found out later, was like the epicenter of like where mostly everybody went. And a lot of people died from what I was also told back in the late 80s, early 90s, before I even actually came to New York. So that was like the epicenter. So pretty much from that, I felt like much better that I was like in good hands as far as like maneuvering the healthcare system and finding a great doctor, because my first doctor was a very good doctor. So after like meeting with him and going in a couple of times and then like, actually getting to support groups, because that wasn't there as well in South Carolina as well. Like support groups wasn't like fond of. I actually, I think when someone said, come to the support group, I was like, what is that? Because I had no clue what a support group was. So I ended up going to PWAC, which was the People with AIDS Coalition of New York City. I ended up calling them, and then I began doing groups with them or whatever. Right. A little while after that, when I was going to PWAC, people was like, "Oh, you can get an apartment." And at that particular time, I was living with my mom's husband and my sister and my little brother, and then they eventually moved back down south. I decided to stay because they was like, moving back, and I'm like, no, I'm not going back. I'm here now. This is home. This is what I call home now. No, I'm not going back. So they all went back, and my doctor was like, "Oh," I went in when his office, and I was like, "Oh, do you know anything about me getting an M11Q?" And he knew exactly what I was talking about when I went in. He was like, "Oh, you want an apartment?" He was like, "I got you. Don't worry about it." So he kind of like hooked me up, and I went through the social service programs as far as like finding me my own apartment. And then I went from there. After that, I started getting more educated. Besides doing the support groups, I wanted to learn what I was dealing with, because I really didn't know from really like the support groups going in there. as far as I wanted to learn more about my disease. I'm living with this. What is the things that, what are things that I should look for in regards to when I go and see my doctor, asking them questions. So I want to get more educated about HIV because I didn't know anything. It was sort of like when I became HIV positive, that was like my source learning, beginning of my learning tools in my toolbox to start to learn about the virus because I didn't know anything about the virus.
Isn't that something? Because I know back in the day, support groups is for people that don't know about the beginning of the epidemic. People would come together that were positive, and the support groups weren't positive. They were really a negative place to be because that was the only place that people who were newly diagnosed could come together and just vent about how mad they were that they were affected. But you said something that was very eye-opening. And honestly, through my whole travels, I've never heard anyone say, I delved deep in to find out what this was so that I could be healthy.
Right.
What exactly is this in my body? What is it doing to my body? And how can I help my body since this ain't going nowhere? It's coming with me. So then guess what? It's going to have to follow my rules and regulations. I'm not going to take a page from its book.
Right. Because the first thing I said, like, I don't know if you remember from the last interview that we did, that when I overheard like two family members talking, that the doctor was like, "Oh, well, you have 2 years to live."
Yeah.
And from that, I knew I was like going to move to New York. So from that, it's sort of like I wanted to learn more about like this virus that like stayed with me as far as like trying to learn more about a lot about HIV.
So now that you have decided to, go on this journey of learning more, is that where it opened the door for you to speak to other people, not just people that don't know anything about the virus, but to people that have the virus also? Did that open the door for you to start speaking and start doing education?
Yeah, it did. It did. Once I started like, going to different community based organizations
Mhm.
in New York and getting educated, that did open up a door. Because I remember, and it's sort of like, be careful what you pray for. I remember specifically it was like a big time AIDS advocate. Her name is Ray Lewis Thornton.
Yes.
I don't know if you ever heard of her. So
Yes.
Ray Lewis Thornton,
Mhm.
I said, well, God, I said, I want to do something with this. Like, you allowed me. I don't say that God gave it to me, but you
Mhm.
allowed me, you chose me to be able to like, rock this journey out. So I'm gonna rock it out, right? I'm God, I'm gonna rock it out for you, right? So I said, well, I want to do something with this. And I said, I don't know what, but I think I want to like, go out and start educating. So it's all like be careful what you pray for. Because I think like after I prayed that, I saw Ray Lewis Thornton on television
Mhm.
and it blew my mind. I was like, that's what I want to do when I saw her. And then a couple of days after that, a job description came in that they were looking for people that were HIV positive to go in schools for Love Heals, the Allison Gertz Foundation for AIDS Education. That's what it was called then, that they were looking for speakers that were HIV positive to go out in these schools and other community-based organizations or colleges or wherever to share their story. And from that, I was like, oh, this is it. So that's sort of like where it kind of like started with me going out to like, share my story or whatever. That's when like my beginning stages of like going in and, going in schools and sharing my story with students.
When we come back from break, we're going to talk about Ray Lewis and the other woman. I'm sorry, say her name again. Allison,
Ray Lewis Thornton.
right? And Allison Getz, right?
Allison Gertz.
Gertz, yes. And I feel bad that I don't remember their names because those two women were forerunners in the education of HIV. So you guys make sure you come right back. We've got so much more to tell you, and we're trying to pack it into this little space that I got. So make sure you come right back. Determined Women of Destiny is more than a talk show or a podcast, more than a Facebook group or TikTok videos. It's a tribe that vibes. It's a networking hub for women to funnel ideas and endeavors, to connect, helping each other be the best version of themselves, independently and collectively. If you would like to be a guest on the show or would like to join this great group of women, please email determinedwomendestiny@gmail.com. Welcome back. If you're just now tuning in, you are checking out Determined Women of Destiny. I am your host, Yvonne, the Motivator Man. And as I always say, what took you so long to get here? You know you should have been here at the beginning of the show. But it's okay. It's all right. I love you. Thank you so much for the support, the encouragement. I'm glad you're here now. Just make sure you rewind when you get to the end so you can get the beginning. And if you didn't watch part 1 of Red Letters, make sure you watch part 1 of Red Letters too. It's a lot of good information and the foundation of the story of Niko Flowers, the sophomore in college that received a letter that changed her entire life. Before we went to break, Niko was talking about coming to New York, getting health care, situating herself in an apartment, and then getting on the speaker circuit. She spoke about 2 women. Now, Ray, a phenomenal speaker, but her speaking was so raw back in the day that literally you would sit there with your mouth open. She would captivate a whole arena of people. No one ever heard anyone speak in such a manner. So I'm like you. You said, that's what I want to do. I didn't know, I wanted to be a speaker, but I knew that giving out information at the time, because I was a test counselor, I wanted to make sure I was as impactful as she was. So now you know about Ray. Now, Allison. Give us a little background on Allison's story, because Allison also was a forerunner to HIV education and awareness.
Well, Allison, her name is Allison Gertz.
Mm-hmm.
Allison Gertz was a Caucasian female that grew up on the Upper East Side. Very prevalent family, like they had money.
Mm-hmm.
They had homes in the Hamptons. So one night she went out with she went out with her friends,
Mm-hmm.
and she started dating this bartender. The bartender didn't inform her that he was either bisexual or he was an intravenous drug user. I can't remember which one. One of them he was. I believe he was bisexual. Didn't know that he was HIV positive or had AIDS. Slept with him. She got roses. In her story, she said, I got roses, I got HIV and something else. I can't remember what exactly her words were. But that was like in her story or whatever. Mm-hmm. So she didn't know. She went on living with life, didn't know until much later that she started getting like coughs, couldn't break it. They did all forms of testing for her. Didn't know. They didn't think to like even test her for HIV. So that was like one of the last tests that they actually did for her, because they were saying, "Oh, you're a young white female." So yeah, we don't need to test you.
She didn't fit. She didn't fit what America saw as being HIV positive.
Yeah, she didn't fit in the category.
Right. If you weren't a gay man and a gay white man, not a gay black man, a gay white man, or a black woman, or a drug user, they didn't think that you could even get it. And she was very instrumental to opening the door to people understanding HIV didn't care about your color. It didn't care about your economic status. It didn't care at all. Once it was in your system, it was there to wreak havoc. So both of those ladies really.
And there are 3 things. This is that it was dinner, flowers, and AIDS.
Okay.
That was the thing. Yeah, dinner, flowers, and AIDS. Yeah.
Right. Is Allison still alive, or did she pass?
No, she passed. She passed years ago. Yeah.
Okay.
In the late 90s, she
Oh,
passed before I started working there. Yeah.
all
I think
right.
she died at like 26.
Okay.
Contracted HIV at 16. She died at 26.
Right. She was young. She was very young. And you see, America came out to fight because we can't let her nice, and they may kill me for this. Her nice white people die, you know. And honestly, when I worked in the clinic, women were going in having babies and coming out, and the doctors knew they were positive because the core blood was tested, but it was anonymous. So women were coming out of the hospital positive with babies that they had that were positive. Let's get this straight. A child has everything a mother has.
Right.
So if a mother is positive, a child is positive. And
Right.
up until about 3 years old, a child does not have their own antibodies. Now, after 3, it's called seroconvert. And a child can seroconvert and not be positive. So I remember
Correct.
one time Wendy Williams put that out there, and I tried my best to call the station, WBLS, and I couldn't get through because she said if a woman is positive, she gives birth to a negative baby. No. Whatever you have, I don't care if you have allergies, your baby is born with those allergies. That child has everything you have. So women were
Correct.
coming out of the hospital, and it was crazy. All of that core blood they were testing that was positive. So then they said, we've got to do something about this. And we've got to let these women know that they're positive. So then what happened is all the women that came through the maternity clinic at the health centers, they were just tested. It was part of the testing. They let them know, we're not asking you anymore. This is part of the panel, you know? And
Right.
so in a way to try to get information out there so people could get, whatever medications or services that they needed. So now you have this job, and you're being an educator and you're on the speaker circuit. Where did all of this take you? Like, did it take you across the country? You're definitely well known throughout Manhattan, Brooklyn, Queens, Bronx, absolutely Long Island. If they don't remember you from Long Island, that's because they're old heads like me. They started in the field in the beginning and they've gone to something else. And they
Wow.
and they never heard you speak. They never heard you speak because I'm telling you, when I saw you on Facebook, you on somebody else's page, I was like, I'm sending her a friend request. And it has had to be at least 15 years or more.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that was when I was with Love Heals.
Yeah. Okay.
To speak. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So now that you're a seasoned speaker, right? Like I said, has it taken you across the country, or you're just New York known or New York bound?
I'm New York bound, but I'm sort of known in Jersey as
Mhm.
well. Definitely down south because like on my social media, like everybody that I went to school with or pretty much know. I'm very open with my status on social media. So
Yeah.
so you know. Like all my accounts, like my Facebook, my Twitter, my TikTok I just started with, and Instagram. So I'm HIV positive because I do say that up to the top that I'm an HIV spokesperson, HIV spokesmodel for HIV Stops With Me.
Yeah.
That's what like it kind of took me even broader
Mhm.
because people have been asking for my posters, so I sent like a mail out. So some of my posters went to Ohio. I had posters to go to North Carolina. I
Right.
had posters to go to South Carolina and also Georgia.
Wow. Yeah, I saw that poster and I was like, you better go ahead, Niko. You better go ahead with this photo shoot, girl. Yes. It was absolutely beautiful. I'm
Thank
so
you.
glad that the doors opening up more now because when COVID hit, everybody thought we don't have to worry about it. When the term undetected or undetected came to play, oh, we good. No, every day there's a newly diagnosed male or female, HIV positive. HIV positive. And I have to say, it's running rampant through the African American community. And every time I tell young people that, oh no, that's just propaganda and a conspiracy in our government. And I'm like, you know what? If I didn't used to do the stats and the outcome measures, I would believe you. But
Right.
honey, I was in the back of that van doing testing. And I know who I told were positive and referred them to the clinic opposed to who walked out of there negative. And it's not propaganda. So now, for you, Niko, you have to get back on the ball and start saying, hey, HIV awareness, HIV education is necessary because after COVID, we are like, okay, we just want to not wear a mask anymore. And okay, you get your vaccination or you don't, and you wear your mask or you don't. But see, with HIV, we're not that lucky. You have to have a barrier method because if you don't, you're exposing yourself.
Right.
Exposing yourself. You're exposing yourself. So are you in a relationship now?
No. I'm not. I've not been in a relationship in a good while.
Okay.
My last relationship was very painful, I'm gonna say. He was negative to my knowledge. He was a correctional officer. He didn't know that I was HIV positive, but once he found that out, like it kind of switched. And I was hurt because there was never conversation. And I had people like egging me on, like, yo, you need to call him. No, I'm not calling him because it's all like he ghosted me. So like if he doesn't want to have the conversation. So I'm not gonna like really force anything on anybody. If you don't want to have the conversation, you don't want to have the conversation. But the thing is, he knows my status. But like, does he know how many other women he may come in contact with that may not say anything?
That part. That part. So with dating, right? It's got to be a toss up of, okay, the first date, do I just come out the gate like, hey, gotta let you know? Or do you just.
Yeah, now I do. Before I didn't, like with the question, I didn't. Because
Okay.
at first it was so like we was like kind of like going out. And people started getting like really fresh with me. Like, yo, like I like my once I had a social worker, she was like did therapy with me. And one day I went in her office, she was like, oh, I should have put my shades on. I'm like, shades on for what? She was like, because every time you talk about this guy, you start glowing. I was like, you was bugging. And everybody would say the same thing, like, yo, when you talk about him, you glow. Like you just like it's like a glow about you. But I would think people would like really be bugging. But now I tell them from the very head up, like from the very beginning.
And what's the reaction? Are guys more open to, okay, I'm glad you told me. I know there's PrEP out there. If we decide to be intimate, condoms, all right. Or are you still getting that stigma of,
Me personally, I'm still getting the stigma. I had one guy that didn't care. Like out of like, and that was like just a couple of years ago. He didn't care. He was like, "Oh," when I did tell him, he was like, "Oh, thought you were gonna tell me you want to come to see me." So it was kind of sweet. I'm like, "Oh, but like, I'm like, you're not worried." He was like, "No, I'm not worried about that. It's good. You cool. I'm not looking at that. So we dated for a minute, but mostly I get like, really, are you for real? Because people think it's the look. It's a look. It's not a look.
It's not a look. It's not. I keep telling them a lot of those waist trainers and bundles come with HIV positive.
Yeah.
Don't be fooled because you see all the Instagram wannabe models. I ain't mad at them. Trust me. I get a little money. I'm doing the same thing. About it, baby. But the thing is that it's not something that you could tell. It doesn't pop up on your head and say positive, positive. And
right.
honestly, I think if someone takes the time to tell you and say, hey, listen, this is my life. I can't say it's the same thing as, I'm separated and we're going through a divorce, but you have to have a conversation. It just has to happen. And I think if we talk more anyway, there'd be less tragedy in relationships, whether it's HIV positive, whether I have any other sexually transmitted disease, whether, I want to be honest and say, no, I'm not divorced, I'm separated, or yeah, I am married. You give the person the chance to make their decision.
Right.
But
Because
you
I
don't.
wasn't given that opportunity. So it's like I want to give that person the opportunity because that was taken away from me. So
Yeah. So now here you are. You're moving to Long Island, or you're already here in Long Island?
I'm moving. I was on the phone today, so I'm kind of like waiting. I got to go through some more protocol. I have
Okay.
to call a couple of more people to figure out like what's the best thing to do because right now I'm in Brooklyn, so I'm considered housed, but it's sort of like a little. I won't say difficult because I don't think nothing is difficult. It's
Right.
just like finding the right avenue or
Mm-hmm.
maybe the right people to like kind of like direct you on what to do and where to go
To
of
get it
how to maneuver it.
right. And
Yeah.
and earlier in the interview, you were saying, you said to your doctor the MQ11. Okay, and
You know what
that
that
is
is, right? You
right.
want me to
That's
explain what that is?
housing. Yeah, that's housing for people with AIDS. Now,
Right.
on Long Island, we had the E5 enhancement, which gave anyone on social service more of a boost, more money, so that they would be able to get housing that was, good for them instead of having to maybe live in a shelter that just wasn't conducive to your health conditions. Because, in the 90s, we're talking about people checking out of here from pneumonia like, oh my God,
Wow.
and it was because of health conditions, not being able to get the health care that you needed when you needed it and how you needed it. So things are much better. We're going to go to break. We're going to talk about the difference in the healthcare, and we're going to hear all about what Niko's doing now. Determined Women of Destiny. Determined Women of Destiny. Wait a minute. Can y'all see me? Can you hear me? I see you guys now. Oh, y'all in the store spending. Don't forget to get me a gift. And it's in your budget, right? You don't have a budget? You're creating wealth, right? No. You know about generational wealth? You don't. Lucky for you, we are blessed to have Helena Robinson. She is a financial literacy consultant. She started her financial career at 14 years old. And if there's anybody that can help you with a budget, give you information about creating generational wealth, it's Helena Robinson. Please contact her today at lifeishelpingpeople@gmail.com. And girl, come on and get your money right. In 2023, I ain't trying to take from Peter to pay Paul. As a matter of fact, I want Peter and Paul to be paid off, and I want the E and the S of ends to meet. So if you're like me and you want to change your financial situation, contact Helena Robinson at lifeishelpingpeople@gmail.com. Welcome back, everybody. I'm your host, Yvonne, the Motivator Man. You've been checking out Determined Women of Destiny, and my guest is Niko Flowers. Now, before we went to break, Niko was, talking about the dating scene and, just having that discussion, with bruh, hey, this is what it is. And, just coming out the gate and giving that information and, her attempts to move to Long Island. So once you get to Long Island, Niko, please tell us how you going to hit the ground running with education and awareness, because we need it. We need it. We need it.
Definitely reaching out to any community-based organizations in the area that does have any type of programming with under HIV and AIDS.
Mm-hmm.
To find out if they are in need of speakers. I think one of them is United Way or United Way, I think it is.
Mm-hmm. United Way of
But
Life, yes.
yeah, I'll check with them. Also, Project Net. I think they're in Patchaw.
Yes.
Because I think someone they give me a paper that they were looking for, like, if you want to share your story, they're available as well. So this like reconnecting with organizations or doing a connection with organizations, like plugging in myself
Okay.
as a speaker, for the Long Island area. That's
Well,
willing to allow me to share my story.
I will give you all the contacts that I've worked with over the years that I've been in HIV, and AIDS. And, my contacts probably have retired. I'm the only one still out here um, working with my crazy self. But at least you'll have the organization and you'll be able to contact them. Now, you give education to young folks, so people who have organizations that have young men and young women, they need to contact you. You know, older teenagers to the 20s, if you have organizations that bring information to them, they need to contact you. How can we contact Niko Flowers and have her come to our organizations to speak the truth? Because you don't sugarcoat it. And young people feel that, they're indispensable. It ain't gonna happen to me. Well, if it happened to you at 19, it could happen to them at 19 and their second year in college too. So let us know how we could contact you.
You can contact me one of two ways.
Mm-hmm.
Via through my Facebook, Niko Flowers is NIKOFLOWERS. So you can contact me through my social media of Facebook, or you can go to www.hiv.org, hivsouthforme.org,
Mm-hmm.
and you can put in for there that you would like me to come speak.
Okay, great. That is something that anyone who's listening that works with the youth, you really need to contact her because she gives a riveting educational piece
I
that
also do churches as well. I do
oh,
faith-based
okay.
as well because I'm a PK, so
Oh, okay. I didn't know you was a PK.
I'm a
I'm a
PK, yeah.
DK. My mom's a deacon. So we went through the same thing y'all did, just that my mama was preaching to us and the fried chicken. And we had to go through under the same rules and regulations. We in church for Sunday school. We in church for morning service. And then we back in the evening. All my friends was roller skating. I gotta go back to church. Y'all tell me about it on Monday. I'm a church kid. Matter of fact, I was birthed in the pews because my mom was pregnant with me.
Oh, wow.
Whole 9 months singing in the choir, teaching Sunday school. So yeah, we're church kids. We're church kids. So, any pastors, first ladies, please, by all means, reach out. If you need her information, you can always contact Determined Women of Destiny, and uh, I can give you the information. So it's Determined Women Destiny at gmail.com. You leave out the of. You leave out the of. So Niko, I'm telling you, we could sit here and talk forever, but I wanted to get the information out to the people. You have been so gracious to spend this time with me. Thank you, thank you, thank you
Well,
so
thank you for the opportunity. Thank you for the
much.
opportunity.
And
Because
I
Long Island needs this, and
yeah,
you were like my link in to it. You know.
absolutely. We do because we've forgotten the fact that, at one time, Long Island had the highest numbers, not on Long Island, not in New York, but throughout the 51 United States. Long Island had the highest numbers. We've come down a lot, but we're still way too high.
Okay. Okay.
One person newly diagnosed is one person too many. We need to start looking at using these condoms, abstinence if possible, and definitely lowering our body count, you know?
Right.
So I'm not gonna lecture y'all. That's your sex life, not mine. But if you want to have a really good speaker to give information about HIV and AIDS, you want to contact Miss Niko Flowers. Miss Niko Flowers, thank you so much.
Thank you.
My pleasure. We will be in touch. I have some information to give you. And for all of y'all out there in YouTube land, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, until next time, good people, keep doing what you're doing until what you're doing gets done. Don't forget, like, share, and subscribe. I'm trying to get 1,000 subscribers by December 31st, 2022. Help me do it, y'all. Help me do it.
There goes a woman of God. I'm a woman, I'm a woman, I'm a woman first. I'm a woman, I'm a woman, I'm a woman too. I'm a woman, I'm a woman, I'm a woman true. I'm a woman, I'm a woman, I'm a woman. Ooh.